Thanks for listening to another episode of Talking Hardcore. This episode is about conspiracy theories and when they go too far, and was recorded August 7th. Since then, a lot of things have changed, so I apologize for the delay in getting this uploaded. I think it's still quite relevant today, and I hope you enjoy listening to it. We will try to get the episodes out much quicker after recording than we have been lately. I say we, but it's me that's doing the editing and uploading. That's my bad. I will do a better job of that. And we appreciate all of you listening. Thanks for tuning in.
This is Talking Hardcore, the podcast for people who love hardcore history.
You study history because it allows us to understand the present and prepare for the future.
Yeah, it's like Shakespeare or Greek tragedy.
Could you imagine what was in the Library of Alexandria?
I bet it was porn.
I'm not even wearing pants right now, Scott.
What's the old Clint Eastwood line? A man's got to know his limitations. I know my limitations.
The Talking Hardcore podcast is presented by Ace Industrial Solutions. Are you in need of skilled trade professionals for your next project? Look no further.
All right, everybody, you're watching Talking Hardcore. I'm George.
I'm Scott.
I'm Matt.
All right, and if you're watching these in order, we just recorded an episode that went live, and Scott said the dumbest thing he's ever said on the podcast, so go check that out in the previous episode if you want to hear. It's at the very end of an hour-long podcast, hour and a half long, so you might want to fast forward to the end, listen to that, and then go on the discussion and say Scott was wrong, just so I can be proven right, because what he said was asinine. But we're not here to talk about that. This episode is not about a hardcore history. We are talking about conspiracies. And I thought this would be fun. And since Matt is the only flat earther that we know, we brought him in. And now he's playing the guitar, too. This is weird.
I actually know the Earth is round.
All right, guys. So I asked you to talk about conspiracies because I don't want to just do what we typically do, which is dive into some fun, crazy conspiracy. I want to talk about the actual dangers of believing in some conspiracies.
Yeah, but the current record for conspiracies are more confirmed than...
No. There are so many more that you don't hear about that are way more crazy.
Yeah, but
there are people who believe that stuff.
If I haven't,
and this is the point. But you probably have. You just didn't realize that there was a group of people that think it. Okay, you just thought, oh, that's funny.
Like beyond the ice wall, there's Narnia.
Like Candace Owen pushing that Macron's wife is a dude.
It's a possibility.
It's very, very, very unlikely. And she's
George,
now getting sued in France. And good.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay.
George, when I ask you what you wanted, like your intention of this, I wanted to prepare. You said something that I consider to be valuable, which I want to talk about. This is you speaking. I want to talk about the danger of the thing that happens when people believe, just because some conspiracies are true, some people believe like a lot of other crap, and that is dangerous. And that was the vibe that I was into.
And that's exactly right. That's what I'm worried about. So, like, I'll tell you what made me think about this. I was having a conversation with a cousin, and this particular cousin is very much starting to go over the deep end with some of these conspiracies. But I don't know that he's starting. He has been. But the problem is, because...
I already know.
Well, of course you do, but I'm not going to say it on...
No, of course
Okay,
not.
but the problem is, because so many actual conspiracies turned out to be real, Russiagate, COVID stuff, a bunch of things.
Yeah.
He's now more emboldened to think that nothing is real. Everything is fake. Everything is curated.
Oh,
He's convinced that
dangerous.
John Wilkes Booth didn't die when he died and lived to a ripe old age because some dude
never heard that
in
one
like
before.
1890 claimed to be John Wilkes Booth, right?
Or Hitler
on his
didn't die
deathbed.
either.
Well, all kinds of things like that,
He
right?
made it to Argentina.
He's like, well, they're cloned a goat 30 years ago. They're definitely cloning humans. And I'm like, okay, for what? to replace people. I'm like, okay, so then they're cloning adults. Like, otherwise, what are you doing? Like, so, but that's the problem, right? Like, it becomes this rabbit hole that you go down where you don't have any faith in anything.
Well,
And you need to be able to trust things that are trustworthy and see the difference.
but cloning humans, what's that going to do?
That's my point. But
Like-
that's not why he thought about it. The idea
Organ
was,
harvesting.
well, it
Organ
must
harvesting.
be right, but it's a lot cheaper just to have slaves that you can do it like in China. But
Well, clone slaves.
right. But the thing is
CRISPR.
that's where it's going to be interesting. But just because something is the commonly held belief doesn't mean it's wrong. But it becomes a point where there's a lot of people in our society now that think Alex Jones is right all the time.
Oh, well,
Right, but that's the point. Like, Alex Jones was right about a few things.
Yeah.
Okay. And now that means that people think that he's a credible source. But he's not.
Well,
But he's not.
I mean, he did talk about Epstein Island, like,
But-
I don't know.
But
20
also,
years
like,
ago.
dig into that. Maybe the conspiracy theory about Epstein is bullshit. Like, there's
What
a
is-
lot of actual evidence, and I've been reading about this, about Epstein, that, like, the dude was just a creep. All right? There's a good chance that he was just a creep. And
Okay,
this
I'll tell you.
whole narrative that
I
he
can think.
was an intelligence community asset is wrong. And it might be wrong.
I've touched on that in my own thoughts. I can break this down for you a little bit if you want.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so I am referencing the book "The Spider Inside the Criminal Network" of Jeffrey Epstein for some of this stuff, and I'm also, referencing some stuff put out there by, well, there's collations. Daryl Cooper did like a 3-part episode on this. I love that guy. Mike Benz was on Tucker Carlson talking about this stuff for a while, but primarily my source is The Spider Inside the Criminal Network of Jeffrey Epstein. It's a very good book. I recommend everybody read it. Whitney Webb, who's an investigative journalist, also wrote a book. I believe it's 2 volumes actually, called "One Nation Under Blackmail." Very encyclopedic, very interesting series of books about the federal government's relationship with organized crime, and I'm partway into volume 1 right now, and she's talking about like how like Meyer Lansky, or one of those older gangster dudes, was like blackmailing J. Edgar Hoover, all this kind of stuff. So and there's absolutely like sex parties where they blackmail. So there's some sources out there, but primarily my source is The Spider. So Jeffrey Epstein got a job as a school teacher at the Dalton School. He had absolutely no credentials for it. He had like a math degree. He was hired by what's the prosecutor's name? Acosta, who gave him his first plea deal. That dude's dad gave him his first job. That Mr. Acosta. I'm saying that right, George. I should know better than this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Alex Acosta. Yeah. So he gave Epstein, that dude's dad gave Epstein his first job as a school teacher with no qualifications at a prestigious adolescent school. And Mr. Acosta wrote a book called Space Relations, a science fiction novel in the line of like L. Ron Hubbard that is about ... underage sex trafficking of girls. Okay, so just check that for a minute.
But 1
Okay.
second. Pause for 1 second.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to get through the whole thing before we talk about certain points. But
All right,
this
go
is
ahead.
what happens when we with conspiracies, right?
Yeah.
If the guy was really involved in that, writing that book would have probably been pretty stupid. It might have been at least weird, right? Like, just because there's dots doesn't mean they connect.
Yeah, I
And
think
that's
that's the
problem.
vibe.
And that's
the vibe.
the problem with
So,
when you
I was about
mentioned
to-
Tucker.
I was about to kind of prove your point, so we can go.
Sure.
We can go through this very concisely. So he got a job under very suspicious circumstances by a dude who was also into the same stuff as he was, obviously. He then gets fired for proprietary behavior, probably, and then he goes on through his connections there. He gets a job at a finance company. All right. And through that company, he meets I think it was Bear Stearns. Bear Stearns, yeah. I don't want to slander anybody, but pretty sure it was Bear Stearns. Anyways, so through there, so very clearly, so I'm about to kind of prove your point. So everybody says, where does Epstein get his money? Okay, to be clear, the Mossad does not front you billions of dollars, okay?
No.
Nobody does that, all right?
No.
They don't just give you $4 billion and say, hey, go have famous people fuck kids. They don't fucking do that. He had his own money. Okay, how did he get his money? All right, so he was a predatory tax evasionist, okay? He would take high-profile clients at his financial company, and we like move their money to a place where the taxes can't get at it, and even the people can't get at it. And he would do this in ways by having them sign over control to him, and sometimes he would just steal it by his own admission. He would take their money. He would say, "Look, I need to do some stuff with this, and you can't even be in control of it. It has to not touch you." But sometimes some of his clients said he would just steal their money. He would do it in a way that was so embarrassing for them that they would not be able to prosecute. Okay,
it's a Ponzi
that's how
too.
Right, that's how he got his money. Then he got fired from that job for doing probably what he was hired to do a little too aggressively, and he started his own finance company, which he only accepted amounts of $1 billion for. Okay, now to be clear, that's insane. This is like 30 years ago. You know what I mean? So and he's a young dude. He has barely any experience. Okay, so that's obviously a huge front. I think he had like 1 or 2 clients. Okay, through his connections there, he got hooked up with Adnan Khashoggi, the cousin or something of Amal Khashoggi, who is the Saudi Arabian journalist who got chopped up. And murdered by the Saudi Jamal Khashoggi, who got chopped up by the Saudi government. So Adnan Khashoggi was an arms dealer. He was one of the most successful and wealthy arms dealers in the world. He was involved in Iran-Contra. Epstein was doing business with him at that time. So hey, we need to move money around governments. Here's this dude. He's currently free. So that's what's going on. Okay. So that's even more money. Khashoggi got paid on commissions in 1 year more than any other arms dealers in the world, or anybody who did business for arms trafficking with the government. Insane amounts of money flying around. That's more money. Okay. Now, Epstein is wealthy and he has these proclivities, and let's just jump forward a little bit, okay? Virginia Giuffre said that is the girl in the photograph with Prince Andrew, okay? She was like 17 at the time. She had been in Epstein's network for some time. She was an abused child. She had, had some troubles at home, and then she ended up at ... Mar-a-Lago, where she was working in the spa. Okay, she was reading a book on massage at a table, and Ghislaine Maxwell came up to her and said, "Hey, this I know this dude. He needs to I need to know this for a second. He needs a traveling masseuse." Yeah.
Pause for a second.
Go ahead.
Have you looked into her at all?
Yeah,
her stories.
We can keep going. We can keep going on that.
She perjures herself. She lies.
We can keep going on that. She was.
And there are literally women who testify that she brought them, underage girls, that she brought them to Jeffrey Epstein.
Oh, they all did. They all did.
Lied to Jeffrey Epstein that they were over 21.
Yeah. All of them were
18.
feeding. All of them were feeding into each other. Right. The only point is that
she
was plugged into. Yeah, she all of them were trafficking. A lot of them were trafficking each other.
But she was literally coaching them to lie about their age.
Yeah.
Jeffrey
that's
Epstein.
what you do. That's what you do. Yeah, that's what you do.
Well, that's not what you do unless you're a human trafficker.
It is.
She was getting paid by Jeffrey Epstein to bring young girls there.
There are girls who were kidnapped when they were 9 years old by a sadistic pedophile who were kept for so long that they are now recruiting other girls on the internet. That's the kind of thing that happens. So the only point I wanted to make from that is that Virginia Giuffre, she was plugged into his family for the longest time, according to her, all this kind of stuff. She saw a bunch of people come through there, whatever, and was one of the most trusted people in his. She was the regular, passed off, used. So she said one day,
that's true.
I think
that's the thing, right?
She was one of the most regular people there.
But the only
she was one of the most regular. She's in a fucking picture with Prince Andrew. I mean,
right?
That's where that's at. You know where that photo? Where that photograph was taken? In the house of Ghislaine Maxwell's father, Robert Maxwell. We'll get him. Right. Just a quick second. So So this is not going to be totally like mind blowing right now. It's just a minor point. It's one established bona fides. Okay. So Virginia Giuffre said that one day Epstein took her into a bathroom and opened up a cabinet, and there was tons of video monitors. Okay, and it was every fucking room in the house. It was everything.
Yes,
and she was
but
like, "Holy,
she's not
just
credible.
Just wait a minute." So like. And she was like, realized they're being watched, and other people have said the cameras are in the house too. Like Weinstein, not Brett, but Eric Weinstein said he like other people have said they saw cameras. A lot of people. So house surveillance. The only point I want to make from that is that at that point he said, "This is my insurance policy." Okay, now let's stop right there. Epstein was abusing young girls, and he had other people doing it too. Okay, all right.
Maybe.
So
maybe.
Right now, why would he need an
Maybe.
insurance policy? No. It wasn't
But
him being
maybe.
recorded.
But
No,
maybe.
wait. Why would he just record himself as an
Matt,
insurance policy?
but this is
Just stop,
my exact point. She's not credible. That's why they didn't
Who
even
is
use
it?
her
Who is?
testimony.
So like,
But that's why she didn't testify against Epstein at trial.
I'm actually speaking to your point with a greater version of this. Okay, so there's two narratives here. So he said, "This is my insurance policy," which to me means that like he was doing
If
this.
that happened.
He wanted some protection, right?
But you
wanted
don't
some
know
protection.
if that happened.
So he filmed all this stuff, okay, and then
Maybe.
he would then blackmail these people. Now everybody knows about the Gap guy, Les Wexner, right? Les
Can I stop you for a second?
Right.
Like,
so if Epstein was lied to about these girls' age, the only thing he would be blackmailing anybody with is adultery.
Yeah. So that probably didn't
Which
happen.
could be something.
Exactly. So I'm going with right now. Let's just move forward with this. So I'll get through this much quicker if we can counterpoint this afterwards.
Okay.
This is my insurance policy. Okay. So he was surveilling his own premises, videotaping high profile people engaged in sexual relations with underage girls, and he recorded it in case he himself got caught. He could say, "Hey, dude, don't you know the judge that's on my case? I got video you with a 15-year-old chick. You're gonna get me. You're gonna put a word in his ear." Insurance policy. He didn't say, "This is how I make my money from Assad." Okay, so that is a self-contained network. Now, zoom out. I don't want to say most, but a lot of spies, access agents are not created by intelligence agencies. They are people already in place, and they have access to people, and then someone contacts them, and they use their motivations to then work for them. You're Jewish? Why don't you come work for us? For the homeland, whatever. Okay, so this is a guy who's already in place. He has his own money. He has a hell of people coming through there. He's already blackmailing them, and we got dirt on him. Okay, Ghislaine Maxwell approaches him at a party. We get the whole Robert Maxwell thing there too. But the fact remains, I want to prove your point a bit, George, by saying that he was doing this operation, could have been doing this operation on his own for his own protection for the longest time.
Yes, but here's the problem. You don't have any evidence that any of that actually happened.
Nobody does.
Point. But that's the point. That's my whole point about conspiracies. You have to be able to prove some shit. You can't just say, well, this, ergo that, when you don't have any proof. But the only thing you have that to the cameras is a lady who has been caught lying a bunch of times.
Exactly what was
a bunch of times.
Virginia Giuffre caught lying about.
Okay, I'll send you an article. I read a whole thing about this.
More importantly,
like she has been called out by other girls that were there saying she made up a bunch of this stuff. But other people, that's why she didn't testify against Ghislaine and didn't testify against Epstein, because the prosecutors didn't call her because she's not credible.
Okay, the other loop.
That doesn't mean she's lying. It just means we don't know.
The other huge gaping hole here is what's her name? The non-credible witness?
Virginia Giuffre.
Okay, so if Virginia was recruiting underage girls and coaching them to say they were 18, then Epstein didn't know they were
underage. Right.
So the only thing he'd be able to hold over anybody, any high profile person at his house, even according to Epstein himself, because he was lied to.
Maybe.
Well, I mean, I'm using what Matt just said.
And what I said together.
So
yeah.
Then it would just be adultery is what he would have over these people.
So here's my problem, Matt. And I think that what you're saying could totally be possible. But there's this whole idea that there must be a list and there must be video. There must be because of this, and this that you just said. And my answer is maybe. And then even if there was, wouldn't the people who had the money to whack Epstein in jail destroyed that evidence?
Probably.
If there was.
You mean
and we don't even know that there was, but if there was.
Wipe it like with a
So
cloth.
here's what we know. Epstein was abusing young girls. He was already convicted of it. I believe that he was using a home surveillance network, which is a bunch of people have seen.
Possible. I don't know.
To protect himself. Okay. I think then that is ripe pluckings for an intelligence agency to use him as an access agent. Like
totally
that's
possible.
it. There's a gap there.
Totally possible.
There's a gap there, but
I don't think there's evidence of that.
I think that this is such a huge megaton nuclear weapon of leverage over literally the most powerful people in the world, presumably.
Maybe.
The destruction and suppression of evidence is probably one of the most remarkable operations.
Or maybe Bill
Clinton
Clinton was flying to the island to bang 18-year-olds. And that's not illegal. It's just frowned upon.
So what happened to the French dude who was supplying him with underage models who also hanged himself, quote unquote, in prison?
That's right. Maybe that guy did. Or maybe you're right. I'm just saying people who are so convinced that they want to tar and feather anybody that says that this isn't true is the problem.
Like, the whole world is on fire right now about releasing Epstein files. All these people are implicated. We don't know that. And I want to take it back to the basic kernel of things that we do actually know, and which I believe.
But even what you said is
a lot of evidence. A lot of
true.
Evidence. Yeah, right. There's that. Yeah, right. And
like,
things outside of
that.
We know he was convicted. We know he was convicted for abusing underage girls once. Okay.
Yes, but
we know he got off easy.
You can't make it sound like that's a pedophile thing, though. These were girls that were under 18. But a pedophile is somebody that's children. Okay?
Yeah.
There's a difference there.
Yeah.
If he was banging 16-year-olds that look like they're 20, that's not near as gross.
So, but
right?
that would mean that Virginia Giuffre was the only one bringing him girls, and that
no. I'm not saying that's
18.
true. I don't even know.
Okay.
Now they said, Pam Bondi said there's a bunch of basically child porn that they confiscated.
Yeah, right.
And maybe
After
that's true.
Said that it was
but maybe that's true.
Yeah.
Maybe he did actually have kiddie porn, and he was into that stuff. I don't know.
He had access to tons of underage girls. Why would he need to download it off the internet?
Oh, come on,
I don't
Matt.
believe that for a fucking second.
Come on, Matt.
I don't
you
believe
don't
that for a
think
second.
Anybody does that?
Not the way she flipped her narrative. No.
No, I don't know if she's telling the truth or not.
How irresponsible do you have to be to say, first, we have tons of these videos that were...
No, she said the list is sitting on my desk.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden, like,
and then says, "Well, I meant the file," and that's fair.
Stuff off the internet, like no.
I don't know. I don't think she said it was stuff off the internet. It might have been recordings of him with underage girls. I don't know. That's the point. We don't know, but they have a duty to protect victims in that situation. So if they are actual videos of him with underage girls, they cannot release those. Because then you're victimizing those girls all over again. So you can't do it. And then the testimony from the grand jury is sealed. So they would literally have to get permission from a judge to release any of that. So my only point, and this is not just about Epstein, it's that it's so easy to fall into this rabbit hole and then forget that this is only one plausible scenario.
Yeah, and
but
I wanted to
as an attorney, I could think of 18 other plausible scenarios.
Right. And I wanted to support you there, George, because I've been thinking about this as well. The Epstein thing is a huge deal in the world right now, and everybody's assuming he was plugged. Now, of course, there's Acosta. He belongs to intelligence. Why didn't you prosecute him to the fullest extent of the law? He belongs to intelligence, supposedly. There's
no, he said above my pay grade.
No, he said I was told to. So.
Right, but and that might be true, Matt. Or it might have just been some rich guy paid him to say that, right? Like
a couple days
Epstein
later,
had billions of dollars.
Don't believe everything you said in the media. So there's stuff adding up to that. But I want to be very clear that there's a huge gap. There's a huge gap. Right. There's a huge gap between a guy protected. We knew he hung out with like scientists. That's provable. Like all this kind of stuff. Very prominent people.
Right.
There's a difference between a guy who's abusing underage girls for his own sexual pleasure and then blackmailing the people recording them who are also involved in this to protect himself and him like feeding information to Mossad.
Or maybe just recording
all that kind of
videos in case. You say
that's
insurance
what he
policy is
said.
not No.
That's what he said, insurance
No,
policy.
I want to be clear. You're saying two different things.
Okay.
Insurance policy is not blackmail. Insurance policy is the potential to use it as leverage if something happens.
That's all that means.
Blackmail is, okay, I took this video, I'm going to blackmail these people. That's how I'm getting my money.
In the event that like anything ever comes, any charges or which speaks to why would he kill himself when he had all this leverage on people? But they already seized all his shit, maybe other stuff.
Or maybe he had no leverage.
He could testify. Testify. He could testify personally in court. He could say that dude. Remember that dude? That
but it's
fucking
also
judge who was
possible.
at my house?
Yes, and maybe that's true. But it's also possible that he was just a creep who got caught being a creep and knew he was going to go to jail for the rest of his life.
He already got off once. He already got off once, dude. And he had billions of dollars.
Right, but now he'd already been convicted. And
he was all very, very, very lightly with the best deal you can ever possibly
no, that was the first time. I'm talking about the second time.
He hadn't been convicted yet.
No, I thought he had.
No,
I thought he had.
In jail awaiting conviction.
Right.
Awaiting trial.
It's possible that he hung himself. I don't know. I have no idea.
I
think the point
George,
here is
with the whole hanging himself thing.
Yeah, I don't want to dive into that too much right now.
Well, no, I don't want to dive into it either. But there are just too many coincidences.
No, but that's not.
I don't want to. So I want to
support.
But
that's the whole point. I want not too many coincidences because in real life, coincidences happen. So conspiracies are always Some conspiracy theories are built on this idea that nothing is a coincidence. But in real life, some shit's just a coincidence.
Yeah.
It just is.
You're right. They do. You're right.
I think
the Epstein thing is a perfect example of this.
It happens.
I think the Epstein thing is a perfect example of this because it has all these things that add up. And we should still examine that very closely because this is a very serious issue.
I'm not saying don't study it.
There are. I think a lot of assumptions are being made here, and I want to analyze them all very closely. Okay,
right. But
I want to make the clear distinction between a person doing this for his own personal gain and separating that into an intelligence community.
But here's the problem, Matt. There's a lot of people that no matter what is presented, if it doesn't confirm their belief of what happened,
they don't believe it.
They will not believe it. So there is no amount of evidence that could disprove
is the
their
media
belief.
narrative helping. Is the media narrative helping this at all? Like,
no, but I'm saying if you can't disprove
it's not.
If you can't, if there's no evidence that you would accept to disprove it, then it's a belief and not fact. It's just your faith.
And to tag on to this one, that's what a lot of flat earthers have the same
and that's my whole point. Like conspiracy theories are real and they have real impacts on history.
So what's
like
a good
we
one
can talk about a lot of historical examples where conspiracy theories have went bad and caused real problems.
Oh, for sure.
That were based on bullshit.
Yeah.
Right?
The
that
point
happens.
is, folks, to engage as closely as possible with a primary source and form your own opinion.
Right.
In the Epstein case, there's, as close as possible to primary sources that we can get. You know what I mean? Some of the people who were there with him. Their stories are subject to suspicion. That's fine.
Right.
There's people who knew him, who worked with him. There's his financial records, which don't really add up unless you listen to his words that he was saying to people about how I make my money.
Oh, I believe that he was doing crooked shit.
People are still out there asking where his money came from. He said it, folks. Read the books.
Right, exactly. But
All right,
but that's the point. All right, so
conspiracy.
but this is the whole conversation I wanted to have.
What, about Epstein?
No, was about conspiracies.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well,
we
the next
need
conspiracy.
critical thinking. If you're never going to believe, no matter how much evidence, that Lee Harvey Oswald is the one that shot JFK, then you don't believe the facts don't matter anymore. And maybe he did and maybe he didn't. That's why I keep an open mind on things. But like you have to be willing to change your mind. Otherwise, you've just bought it, even if you're no different than the person that believes every conspiracy theory is fake. Right? Like, believing all the conspiracy theories is even more nuts than believing none of them.
Yeah.
Because there's way more untrue ones than there are true ones, but we just remember the true ones.
Sure.
Okay. But like, it's way crazier to think that none of them are real or all of them are real than none of them are real. So that's the problem, right? We have to have Michelle Obama's not a dude. We have to be able to joke about that because it's funny. We talked about that all the time. But she's not a dude, right? But like, oh, there's no pictures from when she was a kid. Well, shit, she must have a dick.
Wait a minute.
How are you connecting those loopholes?
Wait a minute.
Like that's nuts.
It's kind of, you brought up Macron earlier and Candace Owens, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know what would solve that? Literally within like an hour. DNA test.
But why? Okay. Sure.
Don't you get discovery?
You're
being sued.
Oh, well, listen, that's why she's panicking about getting sued. Because if it was really true, she wouldn't be that worried. But she's panicking because she knows it's bullshit. She's just an ugly lady. She's an ugly old lady who dated a child almost.
Yeah, no.
All right.
I'm pretty sure, and this is not a
I
conspiracy.
think he was 16 when they hooked up.
Yeah.
But she was like 40.
Yeah, and she was his nanny or
no,
tutor.
his teacher.
Yeah.
Like at school.
Yeah.
No, she's a creep.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean she's a man.
She groomed him. But maybe. There was another. Hold on.
The odds are she's real, real person, a woman.
No, for sure.
The odds are she's a woman.
There was another
odds.
Journalist that was sued for saying the same thing, not Candace Owens. And he was sued for $5,000. I think it was $5,000. He had to pay it to Macron and his wife. He said the same thing though, and it wasn't. This isn't just strictly just Candace Owens saying this. So a journalist said the same thing. A French journalist.
Yeah, but that doesn't. You say a journalist like that actually has some kind of standards.
No, they don't.
It doesn't. It doesn't mean anything.
But the funny thing is, $5,000 went to her. I think and $5,000 went to her brother.
Because they were claiming that the sister died and the brother took over her life.
Yeah.
That's what Candace Owens says. With no evidence. It's all circumstantial bullshit that if you only hear the one side, you think, oh, that makes perfect sense. But then you actually start digging into it and using critical thinking and you realize, oh, that seems very unlikely.
In the episode we recorded just a little bit ago this evening, which may be released at a different time, we were talking about political, religious viruses and ways to control people's minds with their belief systems. It is very easy to control people with things they believe in. Like, the media is a good way of tapping into that. I don't think the media operates independently. I absolutely believe that where your money comes from dictates, a large part of the narrative that you project. I would advise everyone, or recommend everyone read All the Worst Humans, who's by it's the memoir of a guy who worked for a major PR company in America and spun the narrative. Like, one of his clients was Gaddafi, you know what I mean? Another was Qatar. And it shows how the news is made sometimes.
Sure.
So people with a certain motivation can, use the media to manipulate people, you know what I mean? And currently, I believe the narrative around certain subjects like Epstein is becoming so clouded and confused intentionally that nobody, it's very easy to jerk people around. And if this equates to votes, that's a good result. That's fine with me. You know what I mean? If this equates to having someone lose the House in the midterms, that's a good result for me. You know, who benefits from all the fury?
Right. That's the point. You're right. That's exactly right. But it's not just the mainstream media. It's not just any media doing it. The point of the reason I want to talk about this is because it's also independent journalists that do this. It's people like Candace Owen that do this too, because it does drive eyeballs, which makes her more money.
Well, it's sensationalism, and clickbait.
But yes, and people have this desire to be on the inside of something, to know the truth without everybody else knowing the truth. Okay.
Or what they think the truth is.
I think the smart place to be is to doubt anybody who is certain about anything. All right? Just in general,
I like
certainty is dangerous.
Sure.
Be humble in your opinions, be willing to change your mind, and be open to the idea that you're wrong. And most conspiracy-minded people are not. And that's dangerous.
Or rather.
And I would talk about, well, that's the point, right? I would talk about like Tucker Carlson, right? Tucker Carlson had some really good guests and raised some good points. But he also seems to be really pushing a narrative.
Well, sure.
Hardcore.
What do you think that is?
The narrative is that, and I think this is what makes him money, the narrative is that America is collapsed. The narrative is that we haven't been a good nation basically since the end of World War II, kind of, but also like there's no good places left in America, which is silly. He pushes a very negative view of the country, and that sells. Okay, but I think it's just wrong. Like he talked about how clean Moscow was, and it's like, well, yeah, but there's clean cities here. Just because you live in one that's not doesn't mean that there isn't, right?
Yeah,
like,
you know what life is actually like in Moscow. Try and go and talk the way you do about your own country there.
And then he said something on his podcast with Rogan that made me just start to think a little bit more about the way he talks. Because everything he says, he is super certain about. Okay? He says, of course, to ideas that are asinine. And then on Rogan, he talked about how it was objectively evil to drop atomic bombs on Japan. And that
provably not true. I highly disagree.
I agree completely with you, Matt. I don't think that is. But he was so certain.
Yeah.
And so
I know.
adamant.
I remember that. Yeah.
And I'm thinking, okay, what else? And then I started listening to it more, and he's that certain about everything.
Well, he can't be that certain, especially with the atomic.
But the point is,
he wasn't there 80 years ago.
He wasn't like, well, maybe it wasn't equivocating at all. It was 100%. He goes, it was. I mean, obviously, that it's just evil to do that. Obviously. All right.
So spend 5 million lives.
The point is, like, people that are that certain about things are dangerous if we trust them because they're not being honest brokers.
Yeah,
right?
If you want me to believe something because you say so, I don't believe you. If you want me to go check out a source and then we'll have a conversation about it based on my own opinion, that's a personal trust.
Right. Or at least give them the benefit of the doubt. Right? I mean, I like to listen to Joe Rogan, and he believes more conspiracy theories than I would say I do. But he's honest about it, and he knows that they could be completely wrong.
Sure.
Whereas Tucker says stuff like it's fact when it is up for debate, often. And so I've kind of tuned out on him. And I do think that there's something going on in that sphere right now, in the podcaster sphere in that area, where it is kind of leaning into audience capture.
Yeah.
Where it's like, okay, this drives ratings, so I'm going to say something. And a lot of times it's like, okay, it's the Jews that did it, or it's, it's the cabal, it's this, because that gets people, gets clicks.
Well, the problem you have here, George, is the mainstream media. The mainstream
Yep.
media has lost credibility
Because they're not
Tons.
trustworthy.
Yep. And now
Yep.
people are trying to source information from other places.
And it's hard to find credible sources.
And they're going to podcasts instead because you can't trust the mainstream media anymore.
And that's not bad as long as you're getting
But at the same things
honest
happening,
brokers.
the same things happening with podcasts.
Right. And it's human nature.
Sure.
But I mean, at least it's better because you have a better chance of getting truth from that.
Depending on who you listen to.
But the point is,
What's the one thing
worry-
the federal government came out and said about Epstein when it was like there's no incriminating client list? Do you remember at the time, like I'm in this other community and we're talking about it, and I said, you know what? That's actually a responsible narrative. It's hard. It seems like a cover up, but check this out. If I had a dinner with Jeffrey Epstein, got my picture taken with him, and he had my phone number and his little black book, I would not want to be dragged into court and said, "Did you do all this stuff?"
Or the court of public
apparently
opinion.
have no evidence for, right?
Right. That's what Trump said. He's like, yeah, everybody was in his little black book
It's
because he
hard
knew
to say that,
everybody.
and you know what?
And that doesn't make all those people pedophiles.
It's exactly. Jeffrey Epstein's black book was published on, I think, BuzzFeed a while back. I read parts of it. Mick Jagger's phone number is in there. You can call Mick Jagger if you want to, apparently. But like that doesn't mean that he's implicated in all this stuff. And there is guilt by association. And I think let's make two very controversial, clear distinctions here, George. And I appreciate you supporting them, just because I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. Is it one, just because is it one like a man who abuses underage girls and records prominent people doing so doesn't necessarily mean he's plugged in with government. He could be doing it for his own protection, right? And two, just because you have a bunch of people's names in your book while you're doing that doesn't mean they're all implicated in those crimes.
Right.
And I'm going to say very clearly on that point that, like, maybe this sounds like a responsible and frankly admirable position by the federal government in protecting everyone that he had records on. That's tough to say with all the crap that's going on out there. And I think the fact that we have to speak against the crap that's going on out there speaks volumes to what you're saying about what we're talking about, how like the narrative is fun. Is chaos useful? Is chaos valuable? Yeah. Who benefits from this situation? From us being confused,
right now,
from us being
particularly
angry?
the Democrats.
Yeah, you're absolutely goddamn right.
Particularly.
Even though, have you guys noticed that the entire narrative is being spun by the Trump administration about the Epstein situation as being a Democratic issue?
Well, I mean, he's pointing out that the Democrats are driving the narrative. They're the ones that keep bringing it up.
It's also saying that they're the party of pedophiles and that they planted. Well,
he said specifically. He didn't say the Democrats. He said specifically people who did lie about him repeatedly and try to set him up.
And the other
had
narrative is like
access to this file.
I'm sorry.
And Brennan.
I'm sorry. That's a separate point. The one I wanted to say was that, like, so the two things I heard initially were like, and this is from public people, you know what I mean? It's like, Democrats are the party of pedophiles. And then Trump saying, when he was asked about it, he's like, look, I've got wars to stop. I'm trying to balance the economy. Like, I'm actually trying to manage this country in a responsible manner. And then this dude is something that you're like taking. This is what you're asking me. Look what I'm doing. You know what I mean? Let's just look at that from the other. That actually seems like the actions of a responsible person, right? There is a big nothing here, and he's saying, like, can I get back to work? You know what I mean?
Right.
Literally, I'm willing to steel man that position. I love that, dude. I love that because I want to know what's really going on, and I don't want to be crazy.
Right. And that's the trick, is unplug from a lot of this stuff. Don't follow it as much because it's not healthy. Keep an honest look at things, but don't get too caught in the weeds. Is honestly, I think, the best thing you can do. Keep an open mind, but don't assume that you're right because something Well, it doesn't add up. Who knows? Like, I could sit down and make up so many possible scenarios that would fit all the same facts. We don't know which one's right. Just because somebody on a podcast connected dots for you doesn't mean he's right either. That's all I'm saying, right? Like, we need to take time to realize that not everything's a conspiracy, right? Not everything's true.
What do you think? What do you think American society and our government and our public would look like internationally, relation wise, and financially in a domestic economy sense, as well as interpersonally, like you and me and are doing, and like like when you want to hang out in the street with someone possibly of different political views than you. What do you think that would look like if we stripped away like the 2 or 3 big ones that we're talking about with all the bullshit? Just remove these big chunks of bullshit from our public narrative and let us just fucking live together. What do you think that would look like?
Matt, but for the most part, that's what happens in real life. Like, all of these arguments and conspiracies, that's all online.
Yep.
Most people, I mean,
Yeah,
we have a bias. We have a bias sample because we're online people,
that
Matt.
informs
But
what we do online.
It does. Let me finish.
Our opinion in the streets,
right? Yeah. But it can. But like, we also have a biased sample size because the people who we know are plugged in. But like, I know a lot of people who had no idea who Jeffrey Epstein was until this stuff hit the mainstream news. Did not care, had no idea of any of these theories. They don't follow any of it. And for the most part, that's still true. Right? Like, the average Americans get along with each other. It's the far extreme people on both ends who can't have a conversation with somebody else, who can't get along with their neighbors. But like, if you go to your neighborhood, if you go into your town, nobody's at odds with each other, right? Like it's just in the real world in America, things are good.
I think I feel that.
But it doesn't mean we don't pay attention to the online stuff, because that can spill over. It does spill over. Yeah. That's super important.
I can tell you directly that I hang out with people all the time who use the word fascist and fascism in relation to people of the Republican Party, or who voted for Trump, or who don't, you know what I mean, or on the other side of the protest in our streets. About everybody they know like that, dude. You know what I mean? And it's that's how you talk to people like that. As the world is slipping into fascism, or I feel this is a fight against fascism, and it's really hard to talk to people like that.
Sure.
It is. So not only is that difficult, and I feel that what we're doing here is valuable in regards to breaking that down into normalcy.
Right.
But I can tell you that like there are people who would not listen to a word you said, because on this podcast, because you voted for Trump, period. Don't want to hear why or any of the nuances of the Republican.
Oh yeah, for sure.
B would have a different opinion of me if they found out that I talked to you about this stuff. Okay. Right. And these are my closest friends. These are my closest, immediate, in real life, in-person friends with whom I engage in plenty of social activities, and like have seen all sorts of sides of me. And I really consider to be like, valuable people in my life. I don't know how to square that. I don't know how to square that. For all I know, because I had to be on a podcast tonight, sorry I couldn't make it. Oh, what's your podcast name? Talking Hardcore. Maybe they're going to listen to this and it's like, hey guys, I don't know how to, tell you that I live this other life where I talk to Republicans. That's what it's like out there in the streets for real.
Well, for you.
Yeah, but that's not an unusual experience, bro.
Well, it's not, but it's also not completely normal.
I also wouldn't call George and I Republicans.
Right,
okay,
but that's
you know
okay.
what I mean,
I'm not. Yeah, I know what you mean.
In the eyes of this crowd, if you voted for Trump, they just call you a Republican. Yeah, I know that, and I would like to clarify that distinction as well. Thank you, Scott.
So you know people like that, right? Now let me explain to you the people that I know. Out of all the people that I know, there are only 2 that stop talking to somebody based on their political opinions.
I don't think
personally.
I don't think stop talking. I don't think stop talking. Right. I don't think that would happen to me. But
Right.
what I'm saying is it's fucking awkward.
Well, sure.
That's weird.
But
right?
I would tell you that, like, I know people that voted both ways.
Yeah.
And there are people who we don't have politic conversations with very often. Okay. But every other conversation we have is still great. It's still normal. Because it's just there's this one area where we disagree, so we just don't talk about it. And I would prefer to talk about it because that's me. But
What's that exactly?
But politics. But like,
with whom?
Oh, I mean, that's what I'm saying. The people I know in my life that are more liberal leaning know that I'm not, and we are still fine, and we still relate, and we socialize, and it's fine. Right? Like there is this aspect, and it's more of an urban thing, I think. Maybe not. I don't know. It just seems like it. Where you get people that are, one side's all Nazis. All right. But like in the real world, if I met your friends, unless we started talking about politics, they would have no problem with me.
No.
Right?
I know that too.
So that's my point, right? It's just there's this realm of politics that makes it seem.
So I perform. I'm going to give you an example. I'm not hating on anyone. I'm just viewing the landscape.
Yeah, we're talking it out.
And I think it would be great, but it's like when I hear certain words talked about my friends, and they don't understand it. When just to back up, Scott, when you guys introduced me to yourselves, it took a while. We didn't even talk about what political persuasion we were at all for a long time because it didn't fucking matter. We were talking about other things that we absolutely have in common, like history stuff. And then when we got into contemporary politics, it just kept going, and nobody asked me like, "Oh, by the way, who are you voting?" It just didn't. We were talking about why we would vote for people and what was happening in the world, but it wasn't like a personal thing where I'm identifying you by a certain political party. Eventually, I think it was after we started doing these contemporary politics or contemporary news episodes that we actually started talking about that, and this happened naturally too. But then you guys we're like middle, like conservative guys who are more in the middle, but sometimes we look right and sometimes we look left, which is just a conscientious attitude. You know what I mean? And it really didn't matter before that, but I think we kind of all have a common ground towards the middle in that regard.
Well,
I honestly feel uncomfortable. Yeah, I honestly feel uncomfortable in certain company because I don't know how to talk. It's like I said before. I don't know how to talk to people who to tell them that I talk to people who voted for Trump. It is that there'd be like an immediate blink of the eyes, be like, oh. So I'm literally talking to my friends right now because they're listening to this podcast. But I just want to say I'll give you an example. So I play guitar at open mic at this place called Studio Bob here in Port Angeles. It's awesome. You should check it out. Every third Thursday of the month, there's an open mic. Anybody can do anything. That's where I'm going to do our book thing, George. But I play guitar, and so my friend came and visit from London, and I was planning on I get to play guitar for my friend. That's cool. And one of the acts that came up was a chick, and she read lyrics from her phone, where to the theme of "Proud to be an American," she sang a whole song about she's proud to be a Canadian because she's leaving the United States or wants to leave the U.S. To get away from this asshole dictator.
But how much of that is
Donald
just
Trump.
virtue signaling?
No, it's just a funny thing to see. You know what I mean? Yeah, I feel the division whereas it all might be more mixed together in other places. I don't know. And that's nothing. I don't think those people react violently or talk shit about you or anything. That's just what I'm seeing, and it makes me because I don't know. Hi, I literally have to keep this podcast a secret. I'm serious. I feel like that, dude. That's how I feel.
Right.
That's weird, right?
And
because
you
don't want to deal with the ire of the mob. And we talked about this earlier. Mm-hmm. That's what it is. You don't want to be ostracized by your friend group or socially from people that are around you.
Okay, so but this is an actual social phenomenon. This is great. Okay, so there's this social scientists that study this phenomenon, right? And they study this small town. And in this town, playing cards was illegal. Okay? Any kind of dice game was illegal. All right? All these things were illegal. And there was this old lady who was a widower who had a lot of money that that donated money to the church. Okay. And so the pastor kept these policies because she thought they were good, even though he wanted to more modernize. Well, as soon as she died, the pastor stopped really talking about this stuff. And they did surveys on this town. Okay. Well, everybody was still doing those things. They just weren't talking about it.
Yeah.
And so what my point with this is like, you don't know how many people in your friend group might think more like you, but you're not able to talk to them without worrying about that. But you're probably not the only one.
And putting yourself out there and potentially being ostracized.
But you're probably not the only one.
The other thing, Matt, and George, to your point when you said it's more of an urban thing, what's interesting is recently my neighbor posted something on Facebook about Farmington. They had some communal get together in Farmington, and she said, "Oh, great!" And it said everybody's welcome. And she goes, "Well, of course, when I start walking around, I see like a MAGA tent." And then she goes, "Well, good job, Farmington." And she starts, slamming the city for allowing MAGA people into this event. And I said, "Well, everyone means everyone. Like, what's the problem here? Like, I don't understand what you're trying to say." So she meant everybody that she agrees with, not everybody in general. And I said, "Well, that doesn't make any sense." And she's like, "Well, in my neighborhood, in our neighborhood," she said somebody had said racist things to her, who was pot-bellied, wearing a MAGA hat. And I said, "Really? I would like to meet this person." And she goes, "Well, you're part of the problem." And now she won't even talk to me. And our kids played together, and I've known her for like a couple years.
But really what it is she's making assumptions about that. Nobody said anything racist to her. She's assuming that somebody with a red hat that says MAGA
in our neighborhood
is racist.
No, she said.
I know.
It happened in our neighborhood.
But then if you sent me the message, and if you read it, she's like, "Well, it just seems like those are the only people saying racist things." That's what she said. Right? If you read the rest of the message, she says that later. You're like, what the fuck sense does that make?
It doesn't.
Right, because you're only hearing one side is really what it is.
Oh, no, I got
No,
you.
I'm saying her.
Yeah.
She's only hearing one side.
But my point is, Matt, even somebody that our kids have played together, and I've hung out over there, or she's hung out at the house, a couple times, and now all of a sudden I'm just dead to her.
So Jordan Peterson talks about this, and this is one of the things he says is wrong with anonymity on the internet. All right, is be willing to take the risks of owning your beliefs. There will be consequences, but it's better than being afraid to own your beliefs.
I've never been that kind of guy.
No, I know.
Who was afraid of that.
But that's a good thing to end on. Like, don't believe all crazy conspiracies just because some of them were true. That's a big thing. The government lies to you a lot, but not everything you hear ever is a lie. We have to be able to agree that some things are objectively true and try to find the truth. And
if you can,
try critical thinking. Be open to the idea that you're wrong. Be willing to see evidence that you're wrong if it's presented and you believe it. Be willing to see it.
Well, George, I have to add on that. Your floor is flat, so the earth must be too.
Yep. I mean, obviously. I mean, it can't be that it's just you leveled it when you did the flooring.
You know what I've told people? I have to say this. I used to install large machinery, and some of them were like anything over 300 feet long. You had to compensate for the curvature of the earth for the machine.
Even if they were in a warehouse that was leveled?
You still had...
Because nobody has a 300-foot long level.
You had to compensate.
Right, because nobody has a 300-foot long level.
So you could look at the rail and actually see...
Because the only reason you don't have to compensate for that on a regular floor is because somebody stuck a fucking level on there and leveled it. I mean, sometimes.
Really, what
Theoretically.
it is, over 300 feet, you have to start compensating
Yeah.
for the curvature of the Earth,
Because that's how big of a circle it is.
or your parts start coming out crazy.
That's great.
Yeah.
You should post that to the flat earthers,
I
and
have.
they're going to call you one of the people that is in on it.
Oh no, I have, and they're like, "Oh, that's not true. If it's flat, it's flat." Like, no, like you literally, your parts don't come out the right size.
All right, but Matt, we're not trying to make you feel bad for being a flat earther. Okay.
Okay,
It's
so
okay.
do you guys my favorite one about this is, do you guys remember that excuse me, that former FBI undercover agent who went on Rogan? He's a big dude and he like infiltrated some like Aryan gang or something, right?
Mhm.
I think
And
I
he
watched
said,
that one.
yeah, I want to get back to that. I was thinking about it today. I actually never listened to all of it. What a treat. That's going to be great. So he said that they were telling us some all kinds. They had some crazy beliefs, right? And one of them was flat Earth.
Flat Earth.
So their thing was for those was, check this out. Like, apparently they said Hitler did a test with this.
Oh, that's fucking funny.
No, they're like
Hitler proved the Earth is flat.
Secret project, Nazi flat. Yeah. So he launched a missile. Hitler launched a missile across a valley, and because it struck a mountain, it proved the Earth was flat or something. I think that was the
Jesus.
thing. Yeah,
best-
and the FBI agent dude was just like, "Are you sure?" And this is like didn't run out of fuel, or because they had some radar signal going to it, so they could tell if it detonated. Yeah, it was. That's my favorite flat earther story right now.
That's funny.
The one I really enjoy is that the Antarctic is an ice wall, and then there's a way to get through the ice wall and go to the other lands outside of the ice wall. Like,
I mean, if you read
Narnia.
H.P. Lovecraft, that's pretty well established.
Yeah.
like
Exactly.
Odin is one of them. Narnia's another.
All right, guys, we're going to wrap this up. It's getting really late. Matt,
guys.
thanks again. This is a great
bet.
conversation.
Woohoo!
All right, buddy. Talk to you
Thanks,
later.
Scott.
Take it easy.
Peace
Thanks,
out.
everyone.
Listening.